Hello, with me today is Tiago Aragon. He's a political analyst from Brazil, and he's here to talk to us about the political situation in this country. So, Tiago, hello. I know that your president, Dilma Rousseff, is flying to the US this weekend. What is she expecting from that trip?
Well, first of all, she expects to resume relations with the US, which were paralyzed a few years ago after the Snowden issue and the Snowden spying scandal that also affected Brazil. Now it's a moment to resume those relations commercially. Also, on the light of the current meeting that she had with the Chinese Prime Minister, where huge investments were announced, she expects to have a meeting with Obama where it would have a commercial bias. It would try to bring back some positive news back to Brazil, something that she desperately needs given her low popularity at the moment.
That low popularity, you're referring to the recent polls that have come out that are not very positive.
No. The president, she's suffering with low popularity, ironically, since she won the re-election in the end of last year. And the fact is that even though she was approved by the voters for a re-election, the general dissatisfaction towards her government comes from every class and every group in Brazil. And this is not only based on the low development of the Brazilian economy during the last year, but also through the corruption scandals that emerge, and every day we hear news about that directly hit her party. So she is someone that has very little margin of maneuver to try to handle those two problems at the same time, hence the low popularity.
Yeah, and in terms of the biggest scandal we know about Petrobras, where is the scandal at today?
Well, the scandal today is in a very, very important phase in which several key businessmen, and one of the most important Brazilian businessmen was arrested this week. So this represents symbolically is a huge step during the investigation, which could, in the eyes of certain interpreters of the investigation, could be a link between the business community and the PT, the Workers' Party, which is the president's party, for its alleged corruption relationship.
Okay. And to make matters worse as well, Mrs. Rousseff could be prosecuted for fiscal crimes, is that correct?
She could. In theory, she could, even though it's a long way until getting to that situation. But basically what happened is that during her last 2 years of the first term, certain disrespects towards the Brazilians' fiscal responsibility laws were made, in which overestimated budget was deliberately forecasted by the Ministry of Finance at the time, in this way allowing the government to spend more than it should, according to the fiscal responsibility law. So, well, it's something very serious, but at the end of the day, it's more of a political decision than a judicial decision.
Okay, and that could this in any way kind of push for, an impeachment?
Also, again, in theory, it could, but an impeachment is such a painful and long event in Brazil. We had one recently in 1992 when President Fernando Collor was impeached, in which even though the reason for you to initiate an impeachment process must be a judicial one, the entire construction of the case is political. Even though she has low popularity, she still has a very big allied base in the parliament, and this could be the shield that she needs in order to protect against an impeachment process.
From your point of view, what's the next year going to be like in Brazil?
Very hard. It will be a year of recovery at the best. Today, the two most important and influential individuals in the Brazilian government are the Ministry of Finance, Joaquim Levy, and the Vice President, Michel Temer, who is responsible for the entire political articulation of the government. If both of them do their job well, 2016 will be a year of recovery, and 2017 will be a year in which we'll be back on the game.
Yeah, and especially 2016, the Olympic Games.
Exactly. The 2016 Olympic Games will be an island of good news in a year that will be generally, I wouldn't say negative, but at least neutral in terms of the development of the country economically, politically, etc. But the Olympic Games, the Brazilians are very excited. The citizens of Rio are even more. As usual, things are very slow in the development of the infrastructure, but again, as usual, Brazil will be able to pull it off and present a very good Olympic Games.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much, Tiago.
It is a pleasure.